Adam, let's waste no time in putting Eric's feet to the fire and talk about this giant football game. It's big. It's almost as if it's super. And it is coming up pretty soon. And, listen, this is a target. When we were doing this podcast 3 years ago, states would be launching, and whenever they decided, okay, they passed it, we were always looking at the date because we're like, okay, they're going to try to get it done before the Super Bowl. And then sometimes it was before March Madness, but we were always looking at Super Bowl and March Madness when it came to launch dates and different things like that. So we've kind of progressed past that now, Eric, and we just start to look at, okay, we got a lot of states that are legalized. We got a lot of markets that are at least mature enough for us to kind of start to forecast and look at different things that are going to go on during the big old game here in a couple of weeks. So what have you kind of put together over there at LSR?
Yeah, it is. First of all, I'm just realizing now that I'm the nerd, the numbers nerd now that you guys call upon when there's something nerdy to talk about. So I guess that's the role I've fallen into. But
hey, you said it, not us. All right, that's all I'm saying. You said it.
To that point, I am irrationally excited by this time of year because, like you said, the Super Bowl is sort of the chance we get to. It's a mile marker, right, in the year. It's a time when everyone is competing for the same sort of customers and over the same game. We get to sort of pit states against each other and see how they've been stacking up over the past year. And we generally see that Super Bowl handle is sort of proportional to the way states have gone throughout the year. Nevada, of course, the big exception to that, as the capital of Super Bowl betting, still might be the fourth or fifth largest market in the country, but still dominates Super Bowl handle. It will once again be responsible for most of the Super Bowl volume this year. So this is interesting. Running the model, the number comes out to about 1.3 billion this year, which is up from about 1.1 billion last year total across the US. So about a 20% increase. I have Nevada accounting for close to 170 million of that. That's going to be down just a little bit from their all-time high of about 180 million in 2022. More on that in just a second. New York should have no trouble finishing in second place, well over 100 million as well. New Jersey historically is right around that 100 million number also, so that should be the top three states. Gets a little cloudier below that. I think, among this top three, it's a little tough to suss out where Nevada goes. It's cooled off a little bit as sports betting has expanded elsewhere. This year wasn't great just because of the expansion around the country. But the Super Bowl is coming to Las Vegas this year, and it's a little hard to know exactly what that will yield in terms of, what the impact will be on the betting handle. My hunch, as I've thought about this over the last couple of days, is that I'm probably undershooting Nevada a little bit. I think there's a real good chance we break that 2022 record, maybe even close in on $200 million in Nevada alone. I'm really sort of thinking about the casino VIPs that are coming to town. I think that's the question mark in my mind, is how valuable are the casino whales, the customers that are coming in to gamble in the pits and stay in the suites and go to the game and eat the nicest steaks. Are they going to be padding the sports books numbers this coming weekend as well? So that's a big question mark for me. And then, as far as questions go, Florida is another big one. We don't have any data from this young Florida market, and it is of the size that it could really make a big impact on Super Bowl handle as a whole. I have it close to 100 million, fourth place sort of, in a group of states with Pennsylvania and Illinois. It's really anybody's guess. That might be a little optimistic for Florida. But yeah, overall looking at, another single event record for sporting events in the United States. And once again, Nevada should pretty easily be the capital of Super Bowl betting again.
Adam, I know that the Las Vegas airport private runway is already sold out. There will be no more jets that can get in over there. It's already sold out. The Henderson apparently only has a couple of slots left. They actually put it out there like, hey, by the way, we've only got a couple of slots left. So if you need to park your jet, you better get on it. So it's already full here for sure. One of the other things that I do think is interesting, both of you guys having spent time in Nevada, I wonder about numbers because everything is available much, much earlier now in Nevada, whereas in years past, we know it was this big thing where the props didn't drop until like the middle of this, like today would have been the big prop drop and everyone would be lining up at the books and all this. Well, with Caesars going to Rest of Country app, with MGM going to Rest of Country app, with stations, oddly enough, going to an app that actually has a pretty large menu. And of course, Boyd already being on the kind of the FanDuel back end a little bit there, not quite all the markets that they offer. But with all that, Adam, I do wonder if that plays a role here, because it forced the hand of some of the other legacy books, like Circa has up lines, and stuff now that they wouldn't have normally had up this early. And some of the other books around town that have been able to, that have had to kind of go in and make sure that they're keeping up with the Joneses here. I don't know if that will really, really affect handle, but it certainly couldn't hurt. And certainly the fact that people coming from other states that have have bankrolls at MGM, at Caesars, will be able to just seamlessly come into Nevada and just bet.
Prop it like it's hot. Prop it like it's hot. If a book try to get at you, prop it like it's hot. That's how I feel about this. It's not really. Nevada, when it comes to the rest of the country apps having the influence, I do question a little bit of where that action will come from, right? Like, are the really sharp groups that are in Nevada, how much will they be able to get down on those props in terms of them being up earlier? We know that for the most part, the NFL world and the casino world isn't going to show up in Vegas until this coming weekend is over. Probably Super Bowl week will be when it becomes a bigger thing for Las Vegas. I do think it's great for guys like you to be able to have that option when you've been working on a limited scale for as long as you have. The question that I have when it comes to Nevada, and not just Eric's Super Bowl forecast, but anyone who tries to forecast what the state will do, is something that goes back to a conversation that I had with a very smart person who works in revenue analysis in Nevada probably 4-ish years ago now, even before the Super Bowl was announced. And the conversation he and I had was, is it actually a good thing for Las Vegas to host the Super Bowl? Because it's already a Super Bowl destination. Without all of the exorbitant room rates and all of the NFL taking over as much as it does of the city, I kind of wonder in some ways there are going to be some people who show up who wouldn't show up otherwise. But are you going to see some of the major players who might otherwise want to come to Vegas for the Super Bowl be like, yeah, I don't need to deal with all that. Like, I don't need all of what is going to be a more restricted strip in the end, just based on the amount of corporate events going on and et cetera, et cetera. I might be galaxy braining this and overthinking it a little bit in the end, but I just think there are so many interesting factors to try to play in when it comes to what the Super Bowl handle will look like in Nevada, not the least of which, Matt and Eric, is what we've talked about with the fact that DraftKings and FanDuel are not available in Nevada. And are you going to have people who would be large players on those apps? They're going to get their wagers in before they leave their home states and come to Vegas. They're going to be betting with a different account when they're here. I don't know exactly what it'll be, but it's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, Eric, I'm glad you mentioned Florida, because talking to, and working in the industry as long as I have, I know Florida has always been a very big hotbed of getting the whales and getting the people who like to spend money out of town that weekend and into states. It used to be there would be the private jets from the casinos going back and forth between Florida and Nevada. And then now when New Jersey launched, there was a lot of that funneling those guys up to Jersey, up into New York, like, hey, we'll come down, we'll pick you up, we'll put you all the stuff like that. And so I don't know if that will materially change, because, look, people still like to be wined and dined and made to feel special and stuff, but some of those people are going to stay. Some of those people aren't going to leave. And I think that is pretty interesting to see what Florida does bring to the table here in their first year of us being able to kind of track this stuff.
Of the people that arrive to the Super Bowl in their private jets, you'd assume on a year-to-year basis, a lot of them come from Florida, right? That's an area where we'd expect a lot of the wealthier gambling clientele to live. And we see that, evidenced in some of the retail casino data there from the Hard Rock properties. Florida, let me tell you, I've asked everybody I can to try to give me some sense of what's happening there from a numerical standpoint, some sense of scale. And there is just no data available to give to provide any sort of context. So really shooting in the dark here. But, I think honestly the forecast we have on LSR close to 90 million is a little bit conservative. It's below the per capita output of most states, even young states. If we just real quick, some per capita numbers: Ohio and New York around $7.50 per adult. Florida, I have forecasted at $4, so that feels pretty conservative. I know it's first year, it's a single operator market, but there is no question that within a year or two, Florida will be among the very top echelon of legalized markets, despite its limited implementation.
Yeah, and Adam, we talked about this when Florida first launched, and one of the things I'm actually more interested in than anything else is the screenshots that we will inevitably get as to what type of action they are willing to take, because we saw they were taking bets, like first half bets, that even in Nevada at the books that will take the most action, you'd have to go talk to someone behind the counter before they would do that. They were taking this stuff over the app, right? So it'll be interesting to me to see just what type of action they are willing to take over there in Florida, because at least early signs showed us that they were willing to take some stuff and they were willing to take some risks.
Conversely, we've seen a little bit of chatter in the sports betting Twitter world of late of bets that were voided by Hard Rock as well. And so, this is the sort of interesting question when you have a single operator market in one of the largest markets that is possible in the United States. What is Hard Rock willing to do? And as Eric mentioned, because of the setup the way that it is through the Seminole Tribe, we are not getting the same reports that we would in other states. They're not required to disclose it the way that other operators are or I should say other regulators are in other states. So I don't really know what it'll look like in the long run. To Eric's point, I was actually one of the voices when we were talking about Florida who said I would be a little bit more conservative on the Florida forecast because of the fact that this market is so young, because of the fact that the demographics in Florida are more snowbird, than they would be in other places as well, which doesn't necessarily lend itself to big gambling on sports. So Florida is, a fascinating case, and we're not really going to get as much information as we'd like, right? Yeah. We're going to have to kind of extrapolate it from looking at other places and looking at past years.
Yeah, it's going to be. I'm really, really interested in that to see how that all plays out with everything. And look, we know Nevada will win with California. There will still be tons of Californians that come over. That happens every single year. I do wonder, I imagine Nevada wins with Texas as well. I can't imagine the guys in Texas deciding to hang out and go over to Louisiana to make the bets. Or I imagine Nevada wins out with that. But where those Florida people go now that it's an option and all that is going to be something I'm super interested in. And we'll have Eric back on whenever we finally get some of the reports coming out of the Super Bowl and let everybody know just what we found out, or at least what we think we found out somewhere along the way.